Hello and welcome to the 2020 edition of Back to School Night. I'll be your host, Jessica Stokes, also your student's teacher for the U.S. History course this year, 2020 to 2021. Since I'm new to BB&N this year, I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about me. First, my education background. I taught most recently at Thayer Academy in Braintree. I've also spent a good amount of time teaching at Ursuline Academy in Dedham. I was trained in this more recent edition of my career at the Francis W. Parker Charter Essential School, which is located in Devens, Mass. And that's also the school where Jed Lippard, the new Chief Learning Officer at BB&N, was a founding teacher. I taught at the American Community School of Abu Dhabi the year after I graduated from undergraduate. And I've also done work for VHS Learning, otherwise or formerly known as Virtual High School. I did course design, curriculum planning, and instruction for them. So as I mentioned, I'm a career change educator. Most recently, I practiced law for 6 years. I've also worked as a market research analyst and as a collegiate swim coach. And I bring experiences from all of those different career choices to this job in the form of my educational philosophy. So I spent a lot of time when I was in the working world thinking about how the content of my education did not translate at all to what I was doing, but that I attended high school at a school very much like BB&N, and that even when practicing law, the skills that I found most useful to what I was doing were skills I had practiced and developed in high school during that rigorous high school education program. So I am constantly bringing that lens to the work that I do. Yes, content is very important, but how can we use that content for students to learn skills that they will translate beyond their careers in academia? Yes, we want to prepare for students for college, but we also want to prepare them for life beyond academia. And so that philosophy translates into very student-centered goals. What do I envision for what I want my students to look like? I want them to be able to think critically, to evaluate salient information, make connections between information, synthesize information to come up with new ideas. And then I want them to be able to communicate that information effectively, not only in what they say and how they say it, but how they deliver it to their audience so that it's in a way that can be heard and understood. I want to give them opportunities to explore their identities and values because that is part of, both fits with the content that we are studying, but also with where they are developmentally at this stage in their lives. And I really want students to leave my classroom prepared to be principled global citizens. So I want them to go out into the world ready to vote, ready to sway other people on issues of importance to them, and ready to participate knowledgeably in whatever the issue of the day may be. So how does all of that translate to this course specifically? The course essential questions for U.S. history are, first, what does it mean to be an American? And second, how does the United States' past shape its present and future? And both of these questions, you don't have to be an American to think about that question, right? But it does cause us to think about zoom in. What specifically does it mean? How are we defining American, and what does it mean to choose that identity or embrace that identity? Then we're also zooming out. How has the past of this country shaped what we're living in now, and how is it going to continue to shape the future? More specifically, content-wise, this course covers a fairly traditional breakup of the history by roughly chronological time periods. We started with a unit of just sort of where to begin, talking about where do you start learning about U.S. history. We've just wrapped up a unit on taking land and establishing colonies. Students completed a paper on Bacon's Rebellion. This unit, we are looking at the American Revolution, and then we will move into a unit on the Constitution and the New Republic. The Age of Jackson will follow, and then sectionalism and the Civil War. Most likely we will get to winter break by then. Following that, we will return for a unit on Reconstruction, and then turn our attentions to the Gilded Age and both the domestic policies and the international policies of the time, the World War I, interwar period, and World War II, again, domestic and international. Civil rights and liberalism, I'm breaking the 1950s to the present into domestic policy more there. And the Cold War and conservatism, I'm again looking at the same time period, but with more of an outward-facing foreign policy lens. Finally, we'll wrap things up by looking at 9/11 to the present. As far as course information, the best places to go are PowerSchool and Google Classroom. So big picture, for each unit, I post an assignment sheet that covers all of the assignments we're using, all of the linked documents, all of the in-class plans. They're all on PowerSchool. Meanwhile, for the day-to-day assignments doled out on kind of a daily basis, students can go to Google Classroom for that. Google Classroom is where they will submit work and where they will get feedback, get their assignments returned to them from me. As with any working relationship, communication is essential. That is true most importantly between me and your student, but it is also true between me, parents, and the student's advisor and the student. So I know that at BB&N there's a tradition of parents communicating with advisors before going to teachers, and I certainly encourage you to follow that. But I also want you to know you are welcome to reach out to me directly if there is an instance where you really feel that you need to work around the advisor and the student. That being said, one of the skills I think we all are trying to develop in teenagers is self-advocacy, the ability to advocate for what they need and ask for what they want and advocate for themselves. And so I encourage you to urge your student to come talk to me first about anything that you might feel the need to broach with me or an advisor. I think this is a safe space for students to develop those skills. In any event, I'm really excited to be here at BB&N, really excited to be working with your student, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. Thanks so much for watching.